These are some of the most valuable car brands on Earth, worth hundreds of billions, symbols of speed, luxury, and engineering. But none of them started as car companies. One began as a loom factory making weaving machines. One made tractors. One bolted war surplus engines onto bicycles. And one of the most famous brands in the world is named after a little girl. This is how 8 famous car brands actually started. Let's rewind. Today, Toyota is the biggest car maker on the planet. But it didn't start with cars. It started with cloth. A Japanese inventor named Sakichi Toyota built the world's most advanced automatic loom, a weaving machine so clever it stopped itself the instant a thread snapped, so it never wove a flaw. It made his family rich. In 1929, a British company paid a fortune for the rights to that loom, and his son, Kichiro, took that money and bet it on a wild new idea: automobiles. The loom money literally built the first Toyota car. They set up an automobile division right inside the loom company in the 1930s. The very first prototype engine and car borrowed heavily from American designs they took apart, studied, and rebuilt piece by piece. The looms kept paying the bills while the cars slowly found their feet. One last thing. The family name was actually Toyota, with a D. They changed it to Toyota, with a T, partly because it took fewer brushstrokes to write in Japanese, looked cleaner on a logo, and was considered luckier. The biggest car company on Earth is a loom maker that swapped a single letter for good luck. Honda began in the rubble of post-war Japan. There was no fuel, no money, and no easy way to get around. A mechanic named Soichiro Honda got hold of hundreds of tiny engines the military had built to power radios during the war. With the war over, they were surplus junk, so he bolted them onto bicycles, instant, cheap transport. They sold out fast. When the surplus engines ran out, he just built his own. His first motorbike was so smoky, people nicknamed it the Chimney. And here's a connection almost nobody knows. Before all this, Honda's earlier company made piston rings for Toyota. He sold that business to Toyota and used the money to start making his bicycles. 2 of Japan's biggest rivals tangled together from the very beginning. But Soichiro Honda had one wild dream: to beat the best in the world at racing. Years later, his tiny company showed up at the most prestigious motorcycle race on Earth and got crushed. He didn't quit. He came back, and within a few years, Honda machines were winning. That refusal to give up turned a bicycle engine workshop into the biggest engine maker in the world. He liked to say success is just the 1% that survives 99% failure. Ferrari is the most famous name in racing, but here's the twist. Enzo Ferrari never really wanted to sell cars to you. Enzo started out as a racing driver, then ran the racing team for another company, Alfa Romeo, for years. Racing wasn't a business to him. It was the whole point of his life. When he finally struck out on his own, building fast cars to win races was all he cared about. But racing costs enormous amounts of money. So he started building and selling road cars for one reason only: to fund the racing. To him, the wealthy customers buying his beautiful road cars were almost a nuisance, a means to an end. He reportedly resented having to sell to them at all. The first car to wear the Ferrari name appeared in 1947. Built not because he wanted a car business, but because racing needed cash. The most desired road cars in the world exist as a side effect of one man's addiction to winning races, and that pride created an enemy. A man named Ferruccio Lamborghini had made a fortune building tractors, and he owned several Ferraris, but he thought their clutch was faulty. So he drove to Ferrari to suggest a fix. Enzo's reply, as the legend goes, "You're a tractor maker. What do you know about sports cars? Go back to your tractors." Ferruccio was furious, so he built his own supercar company to beat Ferrari, Lamborghini. One insult created an entire rival brand. And here's the kicker for later: that tractor maker's company is today owned by Volkswagen. Remember that. Mercedes-Benz is really 2 companies, founded by 2 men who, incredibly, never once met. Karl Benz and Gottlieb Daimler both invented the automobile at almost the same time, about 100 kilometers apart, and never crossed paths. The Mercedes name didn't come from either of them. It came from a rich customer and racer named Emil Jelinek, who was obsessed with his daughter, Mercedes. He demanded the cars be named after her. He even legally added her name to his own. The name stuck. The 2 rival companies, Benz and Daimler, only merged in 1926, pushed together by a brutal economic crisis. 2 enemies who never met, fused into one brand, named after a little girl. And that famous 3-pointed star? It was Daimler's symbol for his ambition to build engines for everything that moves. On land, on water, and in the air. That's Mercedes-Benz, A star for the whole world, sitting on a car named after somebody's daughter. Volkswagen literally means the people's car. And it was created almost like a government project. The goal was a cheap, simple car that ordinary families could finally afford in 1930s Germany. Its origins are tangled up in a dark chapter of history, under the Nazi regime, before the war. After the war, British officers actually restarted the bombed factory to build cars for the troops. That funny little rounded car, the Beetle, went on to become one of the best-selling cars ever made, over 20 million of them, and it rebuilt the company into a giant. It's one of the greatest comeback stories in industrial history. And that giant quietly swallowed the competition. Today, Volkswagen owns Audi, Porsche, Bentley, Bugatti, and yes, Lamborghini, the tractor maker's revenge company from earlier in this very video. So the insult Enzo Ferrari threw at a tractor maker eventually ended up as just one more badge inside the people's car empire. Everything connects. Almost everyone thinks Henry Ford invented the car. He didn't. Cars already existed. What Ford invented was something arguably bigger, a way to build them. Ford perfected the moving assembly line. Instead of a few workers slowly building one whole car, the car moved past many workers who each did one small job. It slashed the time to build a car from over 12 hours to about 90 minutes. That made cars cheap enough for ordinary people to afford for the first time in history. But there was a hidden problem. The assembly line was so repetitive and dull that workers kept quitting, sometimes within days. So Ford did something shocking for the time. He roughly doubled wages to $5 a day. It stopped workers quitting, and it did something bigger. Now his own workers could afford to buy the very cars they were building. He didn't just invent the car for everyone, he helped invent the customer too. That changed the world more than any single vehicle ever could. Last one. Jeep didn't start as a brand at all. It started as a weapon. In World War II, the US Army needed a small, tough, go-anywhere vehicle, and needed it almost immediately. Companies were given a near-impossible deadline to design one. The rugged little 4x4 that resulted helped win the war and became a legend. Even the name Jeep is a mystery. Some say it came from GP for general purpose, others from a cartoon character of the era. And after the war, the brand got passed from owner to owner to owner, and today it sits inside a giant Italian-American car conglomerate. A war machine that became a civilian icon nobody fully agrees how to name. A loom maker, a bicycle tinkerer, a racing addict, an insulted tractor king. Two inventors who never met. A people's car that became an empire. A man who made cars cheap. And a weapon of war. None of the biggest names in cars started as car companies. They started as something you'd never guess. If this changed how you see the badge on the road, hit subscribe. Tell me in the comments which origin surprised you most, and which brands I should explain in part 2.